Also a Pokemon that's normally selected only because of its Mega Evolution. I probably won't see these two Pokemon in the same game, but really fast Pokemon can do a lot of Psychic-type damage if Jamie chooses to bring it.
Yeah, so we're already going to get into the game now, and already going to see some of those more interesting choices hitting the field here. Jamie kicking things off with that Groudon and that Gengar, and then we also have the Tapu Fini and the Lopunny on the other side.
This would be fun. I mean, and Jamie's, and I guess if anyone would know how to play against something strange like presumably Mega Lopunny, it would be him. I'm not sure if I'm Lopunny. I'm hugely excited about being against a Gengar here. You know, it's got some options to knock out Gengar, but certainly, when you're such a frail Pokemon, you don't like not having the option of switching when you want to. So both sides are going to need to play carefully here. A ton of frail Pokemon, really, like Alakazam, Crobat, Gengar, Togedemaru on Jamie's side, all pretty frail. You know, really all of the non-restricted Pokemon except for Tapu Fini and Ben's side. We could be seeing some knockouts get traded pretty quickly here.
Oh, well, we're already going to see some Mega Evolutions at least. So we've got Mega Gengar that's going to be here, and we're also going to see the Mega Evolution from Lopunny as well, so already laying out all their cards on the table right now as we see both of these Pokemon go into those extra forms here. So I think we're going to see some major damage coming out, at least seeing a Fake Out. So that Fake Out is going to connect and at least stop that Gengar from being able to do something with that Mega Evolution this turn. And seeing some good damage coming out there from that Nature's Madness as well into the Groudon.
Yeah, it seems big whiff though. Groudon not doing anything with its turn, presumably a Precipice Blades double miss. One thing cool to notice on that turn there is the Fake Out by Lopunny connecting with Gengar.
Yeah.
Not something you normally see, but it does have the scrappy ability, allowing it to hit Ghost-type Pokemon. Makes what would otherwise be a really terrible matchup a pretty okay one, but still, I mean, both these Pokemon are so strong offensively and so frail that making one wrong choice is going to lead to a knockout.
Looks like that's going to be a lot of pressure as well coming in from Ben's side of the field. So Jamie's going to opt to bring in the Xerneas instead of that Groudon. Maybe try to set up a Geomancy here and just give some Ben a little, dish a little bit of his own medicine at him.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens here. We're getting another Nature's Madness. So unfortunately for Xerneas, it's going to lose a whole bunch of health before it can raise its own stats.
Yeah, but a Giga Impact is going to go into the Gengar slot. So nice read from Jamie on that Protect to the Mega Gengar. Still waiting to see what this Mega Gengar can do, though.
Yeah, might not find out if we see another Giga Impact. One of the few moves that are the same in English and French, but that is still Giga Impact, the move you're thinking of. Tons of damage, will probably knock out any Pokemon that it connects with, but also would cause a recharge term after that where the relatively frail Mega Lopunny likely to be taken down. Great start for Ben, though. I mean, all that damage in Xerneas, damage on Groudon, damage on Gengar, and still, Lopunny at full health here threatening to blow something up with Giga Impact. Really great start.
Well, especially in this format of Ultra, it's really important to get those damage dealers to do their job. So if you're already pressuring them to the point where Jamie has to play really careful here, then that's a huge thing. But we are seeing that Nature's Madness once again going to cut that Xerneas' health in half. And now we see that Giga Impact finally find its mark on the Gengar. So we're not going to see Gengar do anything this game.
Yeah, pretty amazing. I can't believe I'm seeing Gengar get knocked out by a Giga Impact. But Moonblast going the other way, going to take down Tapu Fini relatively low.
Relatively low, so, we're now talking about this spot where these Pokemon are pretty frail. Lopunny being able to stick around, what do you think that's going to do to affect this game? I
mean, it could be both good and bad for Ben here. I mean, obviously that knockout was very impressive, but now it's going to have to recharge after that Giga Impact, so it's going to give Jamie some time to get some room. Obviously, he'd really like to get a Geomancy up in that Xerneas, but with only a quarter of its health remaining, it's not going to be able to get a whole lot done. The one thing that's great on Jamie's side is you're not being threatened with any knockouts here. Tapu Fini moving before Gengar is a little bit suspicious. That's definitely a choice scarf, so it can only use Nature's Madness, which is just going to have the health of whichever Pokemon it connects with. So both of his Pokemon can attack, or in Xerneas' case, increase their own stats, but there's a lot of ground to make up considering that Ben hasn't had to send out either of his restricted Pokemon yet.
So Ben off to an incredible start here, and seems like what you say is true. Tapu Fini using Nature's Madness and moving first yet again. So Groudon and Xerneas now within striking distance for being taken out here. That Dazzling Gleam, though, from the Xerneas is going to be enough to finally remove that Lopunny from this game. And now we get to finally see some of the Pokemon that Ben has brought in the backside of the field. It's going to be both of them.
Yeah, probably you'll see a showdown of the restricted Pokemon here. You're probably still not excited about this positioning if you're Jamie, where you now have a Pokemon advantage, but a huge health deficit. But at least he does get those knockouts. Groudon a little bit redeeming itself from that terrible Precipice Blades double whiff earlier. And Jamie doing a good job to stabilize the game also. You know, it's tough when something like that happens, and, you know, it's not your fault that Groudon double missed, but it really changes the complexion of the game.
Is going to change it, especially because we are actually going to see Groudon and Shed Ninja coming in on Ben's side of the field. Groudon here on Ben's side looks to be poised and sitting pretty for the remainder of this game, but what about that Shed Ninja?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious exactly what's going to be able to be done to it. We haven't seen Jamie's last Pokemon, but if it's not one that can knock out, or if it can hit Shed Ninja with super effective damage, I guess, it's going to be really tough for Groudon to hit it twice. So Ben potentially has a pretty good pin here. Looking at Jamie's team, there aren't a whole lot of options for Pokemon in the back that could feasibly connect with Shedinja, so this looks bad.
Maybe looks a little bit bad here, and Jamie's going to go ahead and say, I don't want to reveal any more information. Potentially the Pokemon in the back wasn't going to be enough to be able to take out that Shed Ninja, but what do you think Jamie can do moving into this game to adjust to the strategy that Ben brought to the field?
I think one thing that's interesting about it is that Ben's going to have a hard time anticipating whatever Jamie has because he didn't really have to show anything. You know, Gengar kind of just Mega Evolved and got knocked out. Groudon showed Precipice Blades, of course it has that. It's suspicious to me that Xerneas didn't use Geomancy. You know, Jamie, famous for using stranger strategies. I'm curious if he has a different held item in Xerneas perhaps, because there's no reason you wouldn't have used Geomancy there otherwise, right? Like it's completely free. There was no threat of a knockout. Right. If I'm Ben, that's really suspicious because Jamie simply had to make that move to get in the game. So the fact that he didn't would indicate that he can't. On the flip side, we saw Lopunny kind of go nuts, but I don't know if Jamie really learned anything from that, right? Like, I suspect he's the sort of player who already knew what Mega Lopunny's ability was, and that's really all we saw. Giga Impact is pretty surprising, and maybe if it was a Return or something like that, one of the Pokemon in the back could have survived, or maybe because it was Giga Impact, he couldn't risk the switch. But I feel like this is more of a discomfort with a team matchup thing instead of
well, they're so interesting and they're so creative that Ben and Jamie are going to have a little bit of trouble being able to figure out what the strategy is coming out from both of these teams. But we're already going to be getting into game number 2 here in round 4 of today's Swiss. And we have similar leads to what we saw before. Xerneas, though, this time coming in from Jamie to start things off. And Yveltal, that is a new Pokemon that we haven't seen from Ben's side of the field yet.
Yeah, so perhaps trying to change the matchup that way. Typically, Xerneas is sort of the epitome of what you don't want to play Yveltal against, so sort of surprised that he's chosen to bring this, but it's not like it's exactly going to get a free setup off of it. I mean, it can still do a ton of damage, and we've already seen what Lopunny can do. Simply just attacking into the Xerneas slot might be enough to prevent any real danger to Yveltal, and Yveltal's certainly going to win a duel with Gengar, so maybe a typically disadvantageous matchup being a little more advantageous because of some unconventional Pokemon here.
Well, it is going to be Gengar that Mega Evolves first. So that gives us a little bit of information about what Gengar might be trained for in terms of speed on the side of the field. But Mega Lopunny now is also going to be able to match that. Is Lopunny going to do a lot here in this game as well to be able to stop Gengar from doing anything on Jamie's side of the field? It's actually going to be the Xerneas that it targets.
So it kind of makes sense. Probably afraid of Xerneas doing too much damage to Yveltal here. Yveltal able to get up a free attack and see a Gengar.
Again now, Jamie has 2 games in a row where that Mega Gengar has just been fodder for Ben's team. So now this puts Jamie in a weird spot as well. What do you bring to be able to protect your Xerneas?
Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot of Pokemon that are great in this matchup. We didn't see what his last Pokemon was last time. I would assume with this, if he's using something as Togedemaru, and there it is, or at least in this case, he can use Fake Out. He sort of has Electric-type attacks to threaten Yveltal, though Togedemaru's offense and Yveltal's are kind of on different planes. But pretty fascinating to see Gengar go down so quickly again. You'd think when you're looking at a team matchup of Mega Gengar versus Mega Lopunny, well, one of those Mega Evolved Pokemon's the good one, right? That's Gengar, but apparently not.
Well, there was so much pressure on Ben's side of the field, too. Not only did you have the scrappy ability on Mega Lopunny, but you also had Yveltal doing intense amounts of damage because of that super effectiveness. So now we get to see Togedemaru at least And Togedemaru going to go for some chip damage and a paralysis onto Mega Lopunny. I guess identifying that Mega Lopunny was a bit of an issue that last game, but Togedemaru is going to be felled just like we saw Mega Gengar do. And now Jamie is down to the last 2 Pokemon.
Ooh, and that's rough too. I mean, not only does Lopunny get the knockout, but Yveltal speeding it back up. But we see a Z move from Xerneas.
Wow. This is surprising, folks. It has been a long time since I have seen any type of Xerneas without a power herb attached to it, and now we get a chance to see why. It might have been a little bit suspicious about not seeing that, that Geomancy come in, but...
Yeah, so we're seeing what we'll have to affectionately refer to here as Zeomancy with the Z Geomancy, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. The Nuzzle on Lopunny was pretty clever to slow it down, except Tailwind now totally negates that speed drop since it's only half speed instead of quartered speed like Paralysis used to. And Groudon's going to have a lot of work to do to help clear space for Xerneas. Really big deficit, because the one positive thing is that Yveltal isn't great against either of these Pokemon, but man, it's a lot of damage that Lopunny has put on the board.
Yeah, Lopunny, the MVP of this game, dare I say. I mean, it's a really cute Pokemon, so it's nice to see it get that scrappiness and get that damage in. So I think that it's doing a lot of work, a lot of the heavy lifting here for Ben's side of the field. But as we move into this next one, it looks like Jamie's going to play it a little bit safe here. Going to go ahead and protect, just see if they can get a little bit of information from Ben. Maybe get a read onto this Z move now that we're seeing coming in from the Yveltal. Is it going to connect?
Yeah, I mean, this should go into the Groudon slot. I mean, does a lot of damage without a protect. With the protect, it's still going to hurt, but Jamie doing what he has to do to at least keep himself in the game.
Absolutely. I mean, Jamie is going to be trying their best here. It is actually going to go into the Groudon slot. So good read from you, Scott. But it is going to do just barely anything, really, to that Groudon.
But finally, the Zeomancy is ready.
It is finally ready. Jamie gets the chance to do something this match. And it is going to be a buffed Xerneas that is going to be some of Jamie's last hopes to be able to bring this to a tied series.
Ooh, well, his hope might be waning there. Ooh, although not really. Wow, Xerneas takes the Giga Impact like a champ. Yeah, probably the strongest attack Ben's team can put out on Xerneas, and it didn't much care.
No, it almost was like a little breeze in the wind there for that Xerneas. It actually looks like the amount of damage that Giga Impact did from Lopunny, Xerneas might be able to take 2 of those.
Yeah, I mean, 2-4 is a pretty serious deficit, but if that's the best that Ben's got, perhaps Xerneas can just take this game back. There's a huge Dazzling Gleam here.
Yeah, it's going to be a double knockout for Jamie, taking out both the Yveltal and the Lopunny, and now Ben is in a similar position as before. Both of the leads getting taken out of this fight means that he has to rely on what he brought in the back here. And we're finally going to get that information. Yeah,
Groudon whiffing again, but I don't think Jamie's too upset about it this time.
No.
Missing because there are no Pokemon on the field. And one of the strangest situations I've seen in a while in VGC where we see a double knockout in his own Tailwind.
Yeah, that's going to be one for the books here, especially on Jamie's side. But already we're going to see that Groudon reach its primal form. And there's that pesky Shed Ninja again.
Yeah, so we got an interesting matchup here where, if perhaps a normal Pokemon was out on Ben's side of the field, Xerneas could just run this one over, but it's not going to have any way to damage Shedinja. So what this is going to come down to is whether or not the combination of Xerneas and Groudon can knock out Ben's Groudon in time to allow Jamie's Groudon to Fire Punch Shedinja twice, or can Ben's Pokemon knock out Groudon, in which case it doesn't matter if Xerneas is still on the field because it can't knock out Shedinja anyway.
Well, Xerneas this time is, instead of going for Dazzling Gleam, going to go for that Moonblast into the Groudon slot, and it's not going to do enough to pick up the knockout here. But Groudon, that means that Groudon's going to be able to fire back with that Precipice Blades.
Oh, he gets it!
Wow! Is going to get the knockout onto the Groudon, and now it's just Xerneas for Jamie against the world here to be able to tie it up. Shed Ninja, though, not going to be, barely hanging on.
I mean, it does its best, but it doesn't matter. Xerneas can't knock out the Shedinja. The little Shedinja is going to finish this one off even if Groudon is knocked out, and that's going to be all she wrote for this one. Really close set there where Jamie almost pulled it off, but Shedinja is going to close 2 games in a row.
Can't believe it. Shedinja doing work. Lopunny doing work for Ben. What a quick series, and that's been the name of the game of today. All of the rounds that we've seen so far, except for that match that we saw between Evan and Wolf, have been very quick 2-0s.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It seems like every other match has been, slanted, I guess, where either one team has an advantage or it seems like one player is just making the right read every turn. Where in that one, yeah, I mean, Wolf Glick and James Evans, 2 former world champions, going almost to the match round timer. But this one was, I mean, yeah, this one wasn't close, I guess, but it was in the same way where I could easily flip the other way.
Yeah, well, the good news, though, is that both of these players that we just saw were 3-0. So, you know, we're going to be able to at least see maybe a comeback potential here from Jamie. Like, he's got time. He's got time to be able to come back, and it's worked out so far today. So I can see him being able to take some rounds in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's I mean, again, ironically, given that Jamie is usually the weird team guy, that is a very strange matchup. And that's the second or third time already in stream so far today. We've seen, you know, someone lose a match where it's like, well, I feel like this doesn't tell me anything about how they're going to do in the rest of the tournament because they're never going to have to play this matchup again unless they were to run each other again Saturday. But, you know, on Jamie's side, I guess, you know, he's got a lot of strange Pokemon, but some of the tough thing about, you know, running teams like that is typically you're selecting off-meta Pokemon to beat the Pokemon you're expecting to play against, where, you know, maybe it's not as strong, kind of just like as a general power sort of thing. But you know you can win matchups with certain tricks. Where this sort of thing is weird, where probably neither of them have ever thought about these the way their team would interact before. And in this case, Ben's team seemed like it'd have a big edge.
Well, to the best of your ability, what do you think Jamie's team was really created for? You know, you're talking a little bit about maybe doing a bit of a meta read. What was Jamie prepared to face?
I mean, I think definitely, you know, he himself is running his Xerneas Groudon team, so I think one of the important things that he has a bunch of tools for is that mirror. Seems like everybody's really concerned about the opposite matchup. You know, Togedemaru is pretty good in that matchup, even though it struggles against the Groudon itself. Crobat's pretty good in that matchup in a lot of ways. Also helps out a lot with the Tailwind. We've seen quite a few players kind of just get run over by Tailwind, where I think simply having that option in your team at this point is a big deal. Gengar also, you know, pretty much all of the Pokemon on Jamie's team are capable of outputting a lot of damage, so you're getting them next to Gengar so you can take advantage of that quick pick up and knockout instead of just trading switches a lot. I think that's one thing that made this matchup really tough for Jamie, was that, you know, he kind of wants to lock you in and knock you out, but Gengar couldn't stand up against Lopunny, so the core of his team kind of just didn't work.
So what about Ben's side of the field then? Wasn't just the matchup that really allowed Ben to have that dominant 2-0 finish within this match? Can you talk us through a little bit about what Ben was going for when creating this team?
Well, I mean, one thing I think is really cool about Ben's team in general is that I think the whole Groudon Yveltal thing is a little bit underestimated right now, especially because we've been seeing a lot of the Pokemon that it beats. You know, the main thing you want to avoid with it, like sort of ironically, is Xerneas, which he showed a really great ability to deal with. And I think that's what a lot of the other Pokemon in this team are meant to do. Certainly Xerneas does not like dealing with Shedinja. It doesn't matter which type Shedinja is, either it's base type or soaked. Xerneas isn't going to do anything to it, which is kind of what we saw in the very first match on stream too, where you know, Xerneas team lost a matchup it was supposed to win because of Shedinja. It seems like that's a big part of how players have decided to employ Shedinja now, where, you know, you kind of use power to win the non-Xerneas matchups and maybe some other cool tricks, and then you have Shedinja there for Xerneas, where I feel like teams are really going to need more options to deal with Shedinja at the World Championships if this is the way things are going, because we now know there's at least 2 players with very good records in Shedinja, and I would guess there's even more.
Well, I'm excited to hear a little bit more about these kinds of setups from this matchup from Ben, so we're going to go ahead and throw it over to Anna to get some of that insight for you.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Ben. Now, what did you expect going into that last match?
Definitely expecting a tough match. Jamie Boyt, a lot of people know Jamie Boyt. He's an amazing player. So, but looking at his team, I could see that there weren't too many ways that he could hit Shedinja, which is the power of Shedinja. So I was looking to set up Shedinja for the end game, which is what ended up happening.
Tell us a little bit more about your team. What's special about it?
Well, there's the Shedinja, but we saw Melvin earlier with the Shedinja. So, but I like also the Lopunny on the team. I think it works well, and you probably noticed that the Tapu Fini was Scarf. So there's definitely a few tricks on the team.
Why do you think it works so well?
I don't know. It just does what it does. It's a bunch of weird Pokemon together, but sometimes when weird Pokemon come together, they work out.
Now tell us a little bit about where you stand in the tournament and what you're hoping for here.
So right now I am 4-0 in the tournament. Just came out here to have fun. I have my Worlds invite already, so just looking to have a good time, and so far it's been great.
Great. Well, we wish you the best of luck as you have that fun. Thank you so much. Guys, if you want to talk about that match or any other one, remember you can chat with us using the hashtag PlayPokemon on social media. And we'll be right back after this.